Alrighty, so we just wanted to do a little video, little podcast
Awesome.
to just communicate how things are going. Winston Salem, Hope Vibes Triad, some of the stories and the people that you guys have talked to. I mean, you guys have been serving specifically the Triad area for almost 2 years,
Yeah.
and so I mean, what has it been like?
We feel like, we've been able to go out. We go out every month, and right now, until we get the truck, we've been giving hygiene products and just really listening to stories. And it's just been very impactful as far as just, when we get there, they know us, they know we're there, and they're just share about their day or their week. And we just found it to be, honestly, it helps us not because we think like, oh, we're here to help you or we're here to save you, but it helps us to just see how we all have seasons in life, and we all have times in our lives when we're doing great. There are times in our lives when we're not doing so great, but being able to be with them, it helps us to just encourage them during that time, create some normalcy in conversation with them. So we feel really grateful we can do that.
Yeah. It's been very good to meet a lot of folks with a heart to want to serve our unhoused neighbors. We've met a lot of pastors. We've been to a lot of coffee shops and businesses, and a lot of other nonprofits that have a heart to want to serve. And they've been approaching us about just wanting to volunteer. They've been approaching us about for us to use their space. They've been approaching us about, just how they can serve, and asking a lot of questions that a lot of times, when we're driving around and we see our unhoused neighbors with a sign, a lot of folks have a lot of opinions, and they have a lot of thoughts, as you guys well know, about why they got there or how they got there. And being able to have a conversation with folks who want to do something and want to know what the real stories are, we're kind of that bridge at times to be able to share those things. And a lot of times, you're hearing just very difficult stories, and stories that can happen to any of us, really. And so for us, being able to be that bridge and be able to build that trust capital, not only with our unhoused neighbors, but also with the pastors and the business owners and the everyday people that are just on, driving and seeing folks on the streets and having a heart for them, we're able to share like, hey, this is actually a real story I'm about to tell you. And some of those stories are, there's domestic abuse, there's mental health issues, there's situations where, they just, lost their job or lost a spouse. One of our recent ones about someone who, was married, both had great careers, one died of cancer, and then the other one didn't know what to do, didn't know how to recover. And it was easier to live on the streets than it was to even find another family member to live with at that time. Wow. And so these are the type of things that we're listening, and our hearts are just, breaking as we hear it. But we're understanding that, there's a lot more to just, what we might think in our own mind. So that's been our experience.
Wow. I think it's important that people see and know that homelessness doesn't look like what people might think it looks like.
Right.
Do you have any stories of volunteers coming out and having kind of a relationship with homelessness?
Yeah.
Actually, we had one of the times we were out. It was really special because we were just talking, and one of our volunteers used to actually be homeless himself, and it was just a great time of him just connecting with some of the folks there. I mean, they felt like they can really relate to him, and he was able to be really candid and honest and share his experience on he was able to, because with him, he was addicted to drugs. And one of the persons that we were talking to, that's something that they were battling with as well. So it was really special that he can say, hey, it's hard, but you can do it. Yeah. It's hard, and you can't do it alone. The fact that he was able to share some basic things in his own life was just really inspiring. I mean, she cried. We were all there, and it was just really special. And that's kind of like what we want to bring is just a space of empathy.
Yes.
That people can in his case, he was able to give back in this way. And that just creates more empathy, like just that creates so much hope. And even in the volunteers that come, you know, when we talk with our volunteers and do volunteer training, it's not that we're going out there to save anyone. We're going out there to be kind and to listen and to practice empathy and to practice compassion, because a lot of times we want, even our kids, right? We want our kids to be compassionate and empathetic, but there's no space. They're going from this sports activity to this or to that and to this, and we think that if we keep them busy, then they're going to be fine. And that's not the answer. Is not. That's a whole other conversation. But we want to create a space where parents, you know, where teens can develop empathy, where young professionals can develop empathy. So, yeah.
I think of one of the times where we were able to borrow Charlotte's truck, and we had a bunch of barbers that came out. And one of the barbers was also homeless. And he just had such a heart to come out and just cut people's hair, and they worked hard. I mean, all these barbers that came out were having a good time, joking around with the unhoused, our neighbors, and he developed a friendship actually with one of the persons that was getting their hair cut. And so yeah, they would talk, and it's just kind of giving them hope that, you know, hey, I used to be here and now I'm a barber. And so they had those type of conversations. So things like that are happening when we go out and we are sharing and being able just to smile sometimes. I mean, there are folks that are out there that they haven't been hugged since COVID. I mean, like, you think about that. COVID was, 4 years ago? Yeah. And, you know, when you go out there and you just give them a fist bump or you hug them, it's like they haven't been touched by another human being. And they're surrounded by other homeless folks that are, you know,
it's
intense.
A hostile environment. But
it can be very hostile, as what we've learned. So it's significant, you know, our time that's out there.
I always think about how when Emmanuel was a police officer, and he would share about how he would take on a certain perspective when dealing with individuals he was having to serve in a different capacity, but looking at them through a lens of, hey, this is a moment of time in their life, and we have to treat them as such. Like, this isn't the totality of who they are as a person, and they won't always be in this season of life. And that's something that we've tried to carry over into our engagement with people who are currently living on the streets. Like, this moment doesn't define the totality of their lives. And
That's true.
Our serve days are a unique opportunity for other people who have a home to be able to, like you said, practice empathy and have an understanding that, hey, even though this person is experiencing this right now, this isn't where their story ends.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, you know, that's important for not only just our kids to learn, but every person in our sphere of influence.
That's right.
That has significant impact on the world around us when we treat people with that perspective in mind.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts about the work that you all do and we do at Hope Vibes is being able to display that. I mean, I believe that's God's heart. You know, he calls us out of our enemy state, toward him, and says, hey, you're loved and you're a child of God, and I died for you and I rose for you, and now because of grace you're into the kingdom. Like, being able to do that in a quote unquote secular environment, I think is how the kingdom is shown and displayed, and how God's love is communicated.
There's a lot of healing. When you mentioned that, it reminded us about just the many volunteers that come out, and some of them have had like even a very difficult, if I could use that word, experience in church.
Yeah.
But they come out to do something like this, and there's different folks from different churches that are coming, Christian backgrounds and all that, and healing happens there too, where there's just like compassion being shown to one another, and I, you know, it's like you're serving and you're peering and you're seeing 2 or 3 people praying together, just talking about things, tears coming down their faces different people from different walks of life, different color skin, and unhoused and housed together. Like it's a very special and unique space when we get to serve the way that we get to serve.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's interesting too, because when I think about Hope Vibes, we're not a church, we're not a ministry per se, even though people view it that way because of the impact that happens aside from the natural things that are being provided. It's not a evangelistic outreach in the sense of, we're not going out specifically with the intent of like sharing the gospel or anything like that. We have people who serve with us from all different religions. We've had atheists come and serve with us and feel completely comfortable. And it's just been a great opportunity to build relationships with people across the board. And so you have volunteers building relationships with the people that we're serving, but then you also have volunteers building relationships with one another, with maybe demographics of people that in their regular everyday life they would not interact with.
That's right.
And so it's tearing down barriers on so many levels. That is, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's so good. So what's some of the things future-wise that you all are knowing and seeing? We know what's coming as far as internally, but let people know what's happening in the future, and then what that even beyond that, what's some things that is in your heart and that you would love to see Hope Vibes Triad do and have the impact it can have.
Dun, dun, dun. We have the truck, the Hope Tank that we have been praying for, we've been waiting for patiently. We have it, and we're going to start this month just talking more about the plans and how we're going to,
the logistics of where everything goes inside the Hope Tank.
Yeah, we're excited about that. That's what's going to be happening the rest of this month, and we're just taking it one step at a time and enjoying each step for what it is. So hopefully once that's done, we'll be hitting the streets.
So for those who don't know what the Hope Tank is, what is that?
It's a wonderful place.
It's a wonderful place.
It's a truck. It's a huge. It's a box truck where the back of this box truck is converted into 2 beautiful full bathrooms. That have the atmosphere of a home bathroom. So when they use it and they take a shower, they feel like they're in a home. It's very welcoming. We don't rush people when they take showers. It's like, go take a shower and take your time. And we have shampoo provided, all the toiletries provided for them, towels for them to use.
Toothbrush, toothpaste,
and
to brush your teeth.
as awesome as that sounds, it does not end there.
Yeah, we got more. We got more.
What do we got?
And there's more.
Yes.
We also have 3 washers and 3 dryers so that we can do laundry. And the beauty about doing laundry for someone, and for those that want us to do it, and not only do we do laundry, but we'll fold it for them. If they prefer to fold it, we'll have tables there for them to fold it themselves. Some people like to fold their own clothes. That's okay. But also our volunteers will be able to fold the clothes for them. So that's really exciting that we're going to be able to have kind of a space for folks to just take some time to just feel taken care of.
And that they can put clean clothes on after they take a shower.
Absolutely.
Because it's not fun to have to put smelly clothes on after you've bathed. So it makes sense to us at home, right? We're not going to put dirty clothes back. But that's something that we've talked with them. They've expressed to us so many times, if they go to a job interview, they don't smell, and they know it. It's not like they're not aware of what they present like and what they smell like. And so they are so excited, and they are so looking forward to, because they are working. We've met a bunch of folks that have jobs. They just live out of their car. They've even said, when we've had the Hope Tank from Charlotte, they're walking to the truck and they're like, I'm so grateful I can take a shower before I go to work. you know, and so
Not a lot of facilities, and this is important to know that there's not a lot of facilities in Winston for the homeless to be able to take showers or even to stay in a place. And so the Hope Tank provides a place where they can do that, and when some of these places are full. And what our homeless neighbors have expressed is that, I have to wait till like 10 o'clock at night to take a shower, and when they need a shower like 2 in the afternoon to go into work. And so for us, it's been very encouraging to know that this is also just provides a way to help other nonprofits that are in the area to be able to, help with it.
And that's what I was going to mention. What's a lot of fun is the fact that we're not trying to do this all on our own.
Yeah.
I love that we get to partner with people. So it's like when we've had the truck, it's like the Hope Tank, we've had another nonprofit, they provided clothes. And then another nonprofit provided hair, we had barbers that provided haircuts, but someone else provided food for them. And so
Churches
it's
have
the
provided,
whole,
different things.
Yeah, I feel like so much of the foundation of what we're doing is relationship building.
Yeah.
And so we're not approaching homelessness as if we're going to end homelessness independent, like on our own. We are working together with those that have been here before us, and we want to just come alongside and partner with folks that care for the community as well, and that have been here before us. So we feel really grateful we can do that.
Yeah. And the Hope Tank, we'll also have some music. We'll be playing some music. We'll have some bubbles. That way we want to put some bubbles all over the place. It's a fun environment. So we like to make it fun.
I love it.
So there are a lot of things that some people in the community, they have misconceptions about people experiencing homelessness, even misconceptions about people who help people who are experiencing homelessness.
Yes.
What would you say to people who might say, hey, you guys, why are you enabling these individuals? Like, how do you approach those type of thought processes?
We start with a deep breath.
Yeah, begin with gathering or something. No. Enabling. Well, that's a loaded word, but there are people who have a lot of loaded emotions about these things. Especially when you don't know, it can be scary. Yeah. I mean, if someone comes, I can see that. I mean, we had our own, we came from Jersey.
Yeah. We have our own experiences.
We have our own experiences and cautions and things like that. What we've learned in this experience is that, like what we mentioned before, it's that, am I willing to view this person as a human being? Yeah. And I think that when we begin to dehumanize based on our own justifications, because if I make someone else not be human, then it's easier for me to discard them. It's easier for me to not acknowledge their needs for whatever reasons. And so I think that I would just say, can we just let's look at each other from that perspective first. Let's start the conversation with considering each other as humans. I mean, in my experience, I was homeless. I was in 8th grade. Between the summer of my 8th grade and that first marking period of high school, freshman year, there's some decisions my parents made were not good. It wasn't my fault. I didn't want to be homeless. But there I was in that predicament, and it was awful. It was awful because you feel like there's so much that's out of your control, and you can't do anything but submit to it, because what else am I going to, like you have this sense of loss of control. And
in that situation, you needed compassion.
And I needed kindness.
Empathy.
I needed not someone to look at me and judge me and just, say, oh, I'm less than. I felt less than. I didn't need anyone else telling me that I was less than. And so I believe God allowed me to get through that. And I feel like that's part of my story and sharing with a lot of young women that I've been able to talk with, that, the situation that they're in, they don't, it's a season, and I feel like honored to be able to share that with them and give them hope in that sense. And I think that if we approach each other as human beings from the perspective of I want to share my story with you to give you hope. I think that a lot of this enabling language, like there are situations, yeah, there's things that I don't
Could have been
believe
prevented.
we're enabling.
Yeah.
But can we be kind?
Yeah.
Yes, that's not enabling. You know, if we define that, right? Can we be considerate? That's not enabling. We have to establish boundaries when we are in those dynamics. You know, if there's someone who's high, who's drugged out, and they're coming, you know, we are aware, and we
Yeah.
have to be, you know, wise.
Yeah,
You know
wise.
what I'm saying? But we still don't view them as less than human beings.
Yeah.
They are enslaved. They are trapped. They are in a hostile environment. Living in the streets is hostile.
Yeah.
And so in my situation, I'm grateful it was like a short period of time. It was a learning experience, and I did not experience what so many others did. I was
Right.
able to be in a shelter, and I felt, for the most part, safe in that sense. But that's not the story for a lot of these young women. They
That's
are
what it is.
trafficked. They're
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And so I think if we view them as humans, and God created them in His image, I think if we can start there, maybe the language can be a bit different. Compassion can be shown.
So good.